Now we're going to bring in another quarterback. Our pleasure to welcome back to the show a very familiar face who we have great respect for. He started quarterback at BYU. After some time in the NFL with the 49ers, he returned to Provo, coached the quarterbacks, later became the offensive coordinator. He's an expert, and we appreciate his insights. We welcome Brandon Doman back to the Wise Guys. Brandon, good to see you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
Listen, the last time we were live in your car, you had your three boys in there.
That's right.
And you were coming from golf.
They were with you.
What do we got going now? They're all on missions now, aren't they? They're scattered about?
Yeah, I actually am just about ready to head out when I'm done with you guys and go help the 8th grade. My son Mikey, my youngest boy, his 8th grade team. So I'm in the car. They just started practice. I told them that I'd be out there as soon as I was done.
Well, we appreciate
awesome.
you taking the time. It's, it's funny. A lot of the folks that work with us at BYU TV, our analysts that work with us, their kids are all that 12-year-old, 13-year-old. They're all coaching.
Yeah.
Austin Colley's coaching, and Dave Nixon's coaching, all up in that Ute conference.
John Beck's coaching. Dennis Pitta.
Yeah, they're all coaching their kids. Which is there anything more fun than spending time with your kids every day out on the practice field and getting to have that bond with them?
No, there isn't. It's this time of year is about as good as it gets. We went and played some golf this morning. That was fun. And then getting out on the football field with 20, 13-year-old boys in their football uniforms practicing for games is about as good as it gets. It's really fun.
We had plenty of older boys on the field on Saturday night, BYU season opener beating Southern Illinois. Let's start our conversation with you. Just get your initial reaction to what you saw. What'd you like?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of really positive things that happened. I mean, most importantly, coming out with, I think, a solid victory and a very solid offensive showing in a lot of different ways. And so, I heard you guys saying, there's some positives with just no injury and getting things, being able to see all of the different things you've tried to accomplish in the off season. And I think, you aired Retzlaff, talking. I think naming a quarterback's probably the best thing that's come out of that, and have him play well was a good thing.
Yeah, what did you think about his performance, Brandon? He was 20 of 30, 348, 3 touchdowns. Maybe the most important thing of all, no interceptions. And I'm trying to remember, he did cough it up once, and his offensive lineman caught it. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, he got hit.
He got hit, and the ball
flying.
came out, and the lineman caught it. So technically not a turnover, and he did a pretty good job when he was in the run game of securing the ball, but 20 of 30, 348, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Those are the stats, but there's so much more to whether or not he played well. From your perspective, I know, because you've graded that position lots and lots over the years. So give us your thoughts, a little more in depth than just those numbers, I'm sure.
Well, it's just a hard thing. Coming in, having been through a competition the entire fall. When I was named the starter, and I had fall camp to really get ready, and I took the majority of the snaps with the first team. The continuity was created. He's been back and forth with Bohannon, trying to gain some continuity. So I think some of the things that I would nitpick on in that game, maybe the fact that he hasn't been the starter all year long and through spring and through summers had a little bit of impact. He missed some easy throws. There's some throws that I think you'd like to see him make, but at the same time, he made some unbelievably challenging throws. Some of his deep balls were so good. He made some really good quick games, some slant throws that were really, really nice. But against a defense like that I think is not as good as some of the defense he's going to see, I think there's 2 or 3 throws he would have liked to have had back, and I think he's going to need to make in the games coming up in order for him. There's a couple things mechanically I think that he needs to improve on. He can improve. He gets stuck on his back foot often. He's got that unorthodox throwing motion, which I don't think you're ever going to take away from him. It's kind of his thing. A lot of NFL guys are doing that, but you need to be really careful with that because it gets your footwork in bad position. And I think some of the throws he missed, just frankly, his feet were bad, and his feet were out of position. And he was on his back foot. So if he can continue to improve on that and just solidify what he's doing foundationally with his feet, I think has a chance to be really good. But he has to fix the feet, because when the rush gets better, and stronger, and his feet are happy like that, it's going to cause him some real challenge.
Interesting, Brandon. I was just telling him, maybe before you had a chance to get on, I talked to him for a long time today. I was with him for about 45 minutes, and he brought up that his feet were better in the second half than the first half. Yeah. He said, I was so jacked up in that first half. I was just like a little too amped up, and I missed some throws. And now that I watched him on film, I recognize that I did not have good footwork, and quarterbacks are built from the ground up. I've got to fix that. And then the other thing he said was, and I also had a couple of throws that we completed where I made the read, I knew where I was going, but I just waited another second to be sure, and then I threw it. And as I'm watching the film, I realized that this week against SMU, and then especially against teams like Kansas State and these teams, he said, I've got to be confident that first read is right, and I got to let it fly, and I got to throw it in there with confidence, because a hesitant throw will be a pick against better competition. So what's your thought on him? Like, he offered that up himself. How healthy is that? Is that a good thing? Can he fix those things?
I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, obviously, if that's not happening post game and film with Coach Roderick and that staff, you'd be concerned. Those are things that I saw watching in the stadium. Clearly, when you're watching it on film, you're going to see all the minute details. They know the play calls. They know the progressions. In order to be a really sound quarterback, it first requires timing. So if he understands that he was late on some of those throws and he can get the ball out when he needs to on time, then it's decision making. So it's timing, then decision making, then accuracy. Accuracy always comes last. And I think that if we can see an improvement in his footwork and the timing of what he's doing, I think he was making pretty good decisions. Honestly, he just was late a couple times, and I don't know if the concern of him just being stuck on his back feet, and I think that some of that's just his fundamentals of the ways the way he throws it. But that was concerning for me, and you absolutely can fix that and spend time working on that, and the fact that he's recognizing it as a positive thing.
A few weeks ago, a lot of us thought Gary Bohannon was going to be the starter. What did you see in Jake's demeanor early in that game and throughout the game that convinced you that, hey, he's the guy? He's the guy that can lead this group.
I'd like to answer that question next week, because I just don't think they were really pressured the way that he's going to be pressured.
Okay.
And there's some things, like I said, that I saw that were really good. But this team is going to face some serious adversity. And when they face that adversity, then the quarterback's going to rise to the occasion. I just don't know that I saw enough in that game to know if the adversity, is something that he's going to rise to the occasion to. They've had enough. Those coaches have had enough practice time with those two quarterbacks to make the decision that they've made. And I'm very confident in those coaches that they're making the best decision for the team. And what does that look like for Bohannon? Hopefully he's hungrier and hungrier and hungrier to get an opportunity to play. And in the event that he goes out there, hopefully he can bring some juice with him when he comes in. They're super fortunate to have them both.
Yeah, Brandon, the feedback I got, and I'm interested in your take on this feedback, was this was one that was so close in terms of who's making plays. Like, they were both making about the same amount of plays as they were keeping really detailed stats. But at the end of camp, like I'd say the last 7 or 8, well, I'm going to say like the last 7 days leading into game week. So the last 7 days of camp, there was a big separation in taking care of the ball. So Jake did a much better job of not turning it over, ball security. And so they went with, okay, if these guys are this close and one guy's taking care of the ball more than the other, then we got to go with that right now. Your thought on that as a divider?
I think it's important. Turnovers are an absolute team killer and a game killer. But in all the quarterback situations I've ever been in, or that either as a player, as a coach, gosh, even with 8th graders out here, when there's a quarterback controversy, my experience has been that often the team chooses. The team picks the guy that they trust the most, and they begin kind of subconsciously, emotionally rallying around that guy. And when they start rallying around that guy, then it starts becoming easier to make a decision. I'm concerned sometimes when that doesn't seem to be clear, that the team isn't rallying around a particular guy and the coaches can't see the emotion of that. And I've been in a position as a coach before where we just couldn't quite figure that out, and it took us a game or two or three before the team rallied. And in this particular case, maybe the team was already rallying around Jake and what he was doing. So it's gonna, like I said, when it gets really hard in the next week or two or three, it's going to be interesting to see how well he plays, and getting a couple more games under his belt. It'll be fun to see. I think it's a really intriguing opportunity for him right now and BYU's offense.
Former BYU quarterback Brandon Doman is on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus and distributed by the Deseret News. Jake's 4 previous starts last year: West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Went 0-4, trying to figure it out. So after this offseason and everything, how important was it to have an FCS opponent where there's a little more room for error to open his junior season, where maybe he can take a breath and play relaxed and free for the first time?
Oh, I think that was so good for this team, the entire team. They needed an opportunity to just settle in and sink their teeth into this new, this new quarterback that's now starting for them, and for there's just so many things they were trying to establish: a run game, create a little bit more of an identity up front with the offensive line. And I think that the things that they were trying to accomplish, they were able to accomplish. They had 15 third down situations, which is so helpful going into a season. They were able to take some, fourth down conversion. I think they were like 3 or 4 on fourth down conversions. That's so nice to get an opportunity where you're not, freaking out as a coach about going for it on fourth down. Several red zone opportunities. They had the opportunity to let their kicker take a few whacks at it. That was really a positive thing. So there's a lot of things that they needed to work on, and I think they were able to see most of it.
Let me follow up on that with, in 2001, you're the starter, as you mentioned a moment ago. You are through off-season and fall, and you get Tulane out of the gate. Not a world beater, but a challenge. You put 70 points on the board. How valuable was that game to you? You went on to win the next, the first 12 of that season, but just how valuable was it to your confidence just to be able to go out there and run the offense and have it succeed?
Well, there was so much question marks. There's so many question marks around our team, and I think we took that personal. We had a really solid senior class that year, and I think through the off season, we had something to prove. And we didn't want to wait. We didn't want to wait 2 or 3 games. We wanted to prove it immediately. And we had a chip on our shoulder. And so that part of just being able to come out and play with a chip on our shoulder and play the way that we knew we were capable of playing, I think catapulted us into a ton of confidence going into the next series of games. And, let me just give you some contrast. University of Utah coming into this game, I mean, those guys, they were so dominant and a little different than BYU. BYU was very good, but not quite as dominant. And what kind of confidence are they creating? And I remember us coming in 01, we just had kind of a nasty mentality and this chip on our shoulder. And I'm not saying I didn't see that. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that out of this team on Saturday, honestly, if I'm being as honest as I can. I didn't see that confidence, swagger, chip, but maybe this team's got to earn it. Maybe they just don't have enough of those leaders in that locker room yet that will emerge in the next couple, 2-3 weeks.
Brandon, it was interesting. In that first half, I'm watching the offense, and they were effective. They were moving the ball, they were scoring. But I felt like it was, I don't know if methodical is the right word, but like very methodical. Like it didn't feel like it had a pace to me. I felt like in the second half they had the foot on the gas a little bit more. Like they were a little more open and a little more confident in the second half. In my mind, I thought maybe they ought to come out and run hurry up for a drive or just do something to change the pace of what just seemed like it was plodding in the first half. Now, it's hard to criticize it when they were effective, and when you look at the numbers, they were good. Did you get that sense at all? And what about maybe a little change up where you run a little hurry up or quick for a series or something to change it up and get a little pep in that offense?
Well, there was a couple times where we had turnover on downs in their territory, a turnover, and I just thought, gosh, in this situation, launch it, take a shot to the end zone, and not that. Again, I'm not trying to be critical. I just think that, again, you're developing this mentality and this swagger and this killer instinct. And I think you're right. There was a couple of moments where I thought, just go after the juggler right now and see if you can't develop a little bit of some early swagger. And there was some methodical play, but maybe that's the mindset. Maybe that's the game plan coming in, is that, we can't turn it over. We know Kalani's, comes from that kind of a mindset, and with his background with Kyle. And so I think there is a mindset of converting first downs, and they got into a ton of third downs. And so I think they accomplished what the design was created for. And we got to trust these coaches that they know their design, what they're trying to accomplish. But that would have been the only other couple things I'd love to have seen in that game, was just a couple moments when they said, okay, we're gonna really go after the juggler in this moment. And but that's pretty small.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah. Brandon and I think alike on this, because people say, man, we had them on their heels all game. I'm like, well, good. When we had them on their heels, let's put them on their back.
Yeah.
I want them off their heels and on their back. If I got them on their heels, then they're vulnerable. Let's go after them. And I know Brandon is the same way. I have one question from the chat, which is a really good question. And I have an opinion on it, but I want to hear yours first, Brandon. Somebody said, when Gary finally came into the game, what did you think about, and they're asking us this, so I'm going to ask you it first, of them just running the ball and then having them kneel it out 3 times?
It's hard. I mean, it would have been nice to have given him some opportunity, but Gary's played a lot of football. I don't think he needs a ton of whacks at it to gain confidence. So I think they were trying to get out of that game and move on. And I'm comfortable with that. If this was a guy that didn't have very many reps in football, then maybe give him some shots out of it. He didn't need it.
Couple more questions for former 49ers quarterback and former BYU offensive coordinator Brandon Doman on the Wise Guys. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. We know you have a practice to get over to, so let's hit you up with a couple, and then you're going to reveal your 5 greatest sports movies of all time. And I know Hollywood's standing by to hear your list, but Retzlaff's hitting the road for SMU on Friday night. 2 road starts under his belt. Right, Oklahoma State and West Virginia. What do you expect to see from him in this new setting on Friday?
When I look at him, he appears to be calm and collective. He seems to have confidence. There were some times out there where I saw him, very alert and aware of his teammates and his surrounding with his offensive line. And there's some things that I really like, too, about this guy that I think the team will respond well to. And so being on the road in this, early on, I think is going to be a helpful thing. I really do. I think they're going to have to develop some kind of a road mentality, and against some opponents that maybe aren't going to be quite like some of the guys they're going to have to play later in the season. If they can develop some, a road mentality right now and get some wins, a couple wins here would be such an awesome foundation to be built as they prepare for their they have some really hard road games. Yeah. So this would be nice to learn how to do that right now.
We talked a lot about the offense, Brandon. Did you see enough of this BYU defense to believe they can get after SMU and force some turnovers, maybe to give the offense some short fields? What was your overall impression of the D, and what do you expect out of them at SMU?
Well, I think that their back end's getting more and more talented. I know that for Jay Hill, he really will. I think when he's going to be at his very, very best is when he's got some good talent on the back end, and they're recruiting to that. I think they'll continue to get better and better on the back end. And when I say back end, I'm talking about corners and safety, and then their nickel packages. They played a lot of nickel package, meaning a 5th DB on the field, and then play pressure. And there's a lot of times where they were trying to play man to man. And then trigger out of that into zone. And if they can do that, BYU's not been able to do that in years past. So I don't know that they're quite ready to do it either. But I love the scheme. I love the mindset. And they do change it up well enough. I think our edge rushers were better. And I think we just were a little bit quicker off the ball, and we were closing the pass rush edge a little bit tighter. I think that'll really help this year. So from where we were last year to this year, I think there's been a good improvement.
5 questions now, presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. Owned and operated by a BYU alum who's helping wise guys conquer the world. Tonight, 5 questions focuses on Brandon Doman's 5 greatest sports movies of all time. Now, I gave you a heads up. Think about it over the weekend, and you said, I'll be ready to go. And so
you
it's showtime.
You start with 5 because we don't want to reveal 1 until the very end.
You got my brain all stumped right now because I hate to admit it that I forgot to do that. But let me just work my way. Let me work my way down.
You can give us 5, and then if we have to shuffle them around, if you change your mind and go, you know what, maybe that should be 2. We're okay with that, but we need 5.
Okay. I'm gonna start with kind of down the list a little bit with Rudy.
Rudy, okay.
Yeah, I love Rudy.
And oh my gosh, I just brain cramped one of my. Okay, no, and then I'll go Field of Dreams.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's underrated. Yeah.
And then I'll go with Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot one. I'm already to my number 1. Somewhere I skipped
I know you wanted to put Hoosiers in there.
Yeah, isn't Hoosiers in there for you?
Hoosiers is my number 1.
Oh, Hoosiers is 1.
That's a classic.
So
let's see. What
Remember
about
the Titans
Rocky?
is 2 and Field of Dreams is 3.
Yeah, Rocky. My bad. That's the one I was thinking. I was going to put Rocky 2 and Hoosiers 1.
Yeah.
So the other night I was just flicking through, and and nobody was around, and I was bored, and it was late at night, and I wasn't sleepy yet, and Rocky Balboa, the latest one where he comes back, and
we're kind of the bookend thing. Yeah,
I watched the whole thing until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Rocky gets me every time, you guys, and I don't care like Rocky 1, 2, like it doesn't matter. I'm clicking through. I got to stop and watch it.
The music's awesome, but Brandon, did you notice through the whole Rocky series that as Rocky got older, the fight scenes got more realistic because they knew how to choreograph boxing better than the 70s?
Yep, it got better for sure.
Well,
I'm the same way as Blaine. I can't turn on Rocky and not finish it.
Well, and then the other thing is I'm in awe every time. So Rocky's older than me, by the way. And Sylvester Stallone is, and then that Rocky Balboa, I don't know, he's 60 something,
but he still can.
And I was like, what in the world? Like, who's training this guy, and what does he eat to look like that? Because he looked amazing in that one. I was feeling like a fat boy after that. So.
Hey, it's a holiday night. I know you haven't run off to practice. We sure appreciate you giving us some time because we value your opinion. And 1 game into a season after a 5-7 season and 5 straight losses, there's a lot going on with Cougar Nation, and so we like to turn to you to get some clarity and get your ideas. So, Brandon, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. It was so fun to see that stadium just packed with BYU fans and
your favorite color, royal.
And guess who leads the Big 12 in attendance after 1 week?
I know.
Our Cougs, right? Isn't that awesome?
I know. It was fun, and I think Cougar Nation's ready for an exciting season, and we're all extremely hopeful. And I am likewise the same. I'm just saying. So I'm hoping like crazy. So go Cougs.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon. Have fun at practice.
All right, guys. Take care.